Hey there, Ginger here from Dizzy Lizard Pottery. This is a shout out to Timpanogos Harley Davidson in Linden, Utah. I am so thankful for you guys. You guys are awesome. So I wanted to do a little video thanking you. You helped Stanley and I out a few weeks ago, and it is really appreciated. Stanley and I decided to head to Utah, to Salt Lake, for a party with some of my college girlfriends, and we ended up having a good time, by the way. Hi Lisa, hi Megan, hi Angela, hi everybody. Anyway, we got all the way to Provo. We got about 588 miles actually to Provo, Utah, not realizing that our wheel bearings had gone out on the bike. Every time we would stop, we'd get into a little town and we'd stop, and I kept hearing this squeaking noise on the entire trip. It sounded like my dog's squeaky toy. It was like, but Stanley couldn't hear it. And I had the GoPro on the bike, and I even thought about like holding it down near the tire to film it so that he could hear what I was hearing. But I kept thinking, we had the packs and stuff on it, and I kept thinking, well, it's probably just the straps rubbing on something or something like that. So we went the whole first day, stopped in Green River, went from Santa Fe to Green River, stopped there. Everything was fine, didn't notice any problems or anything. Then we went on the next day. We went through Arches, through Moab, Arches, and it was really hot. I didn't know it at the time, but it was over 100 degrees, or it was at least 100 degrees, we'll put it that way. So we went through Arches, and then we continued on to Provo, and we were going over Mountain Pass, and there was a forest fire. I don't know that it was any hotter there because of the forest fire, but it was pretty darn hot. So we stopped for a little bit, went through the overpass. When we were coming into Provo, we came up on some other Harley and BMW drivers. So we pulled up to them because we needed to get some more oil for the bike. As those of you know who ride Harleys, you need to top it off every once in a while. And we had, you don't bring a case of oil, you bring a bottle of oil. So we were starting to run a little low on oil, and needed to go to the Harley Davidson shop anyway to pick some up. So we pull up to them. They had Utah plates, and we said, hey, where's the Harley store? And they said, that way. Down such and such a street that way. And we were about to get on the highway. So we're sitting there in city traffic for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes at the lights and stuff, getting ready to get on the highway. So we get on the highway to go to Harley Davidson. As we're driving on the interstate, I felt something hot on my leg. So I reached down, I touched my leg, pulled my hand up, and it was like blood. Not my blood, the poor little bike's blood. It was motor oil all over my hand. So I told my husband, pull over right away. So we pulled over right away, determined that we had to get off the highway. There was nowhere to stop. So we pull over, we crawled basically to the very next exit, got to a gas station, checked out what we could at the gas station, determined that the cap had popped off of the oil reservoir. So put some more, the last of our oil in. We're going to Harley Davidson anyway, thank God. And we just babied it, and we were like, okay, if we ruin the engine, we ruin the engine. We don't, it's too late now. So we did what we could to get there. It ran just fine to get there. And Stanley said that he thought that it had been missing. Like, he kind of felt it kind of like not running right. So get to Timpanogos Harley Davidson in Linden. And oh my gosh, we were so lucky. It was a Saturday afternoon, right before closing. It was like 2 or 3 hours before closing. So we get there. They didn't have a line or anything. They didn't have anyone in the shop. We were so lucky. They got us right in. They did a diagnostic on the bike. Turns out the engine was perfectly fine, nothing wrong. Thank God we hadn't ruined anything. We had just inadvertently put a little bit too much oil in the reservoir, and so with all the heat from the driving through arches and sitting in city traffic in the mountain overpass and all that, it had just warmed up and the pressure built up and it popped the cap off. So thank God that was not a problem. But as they were doing the diagnostic, they found out, and I will show you, I'll get the GoPro out and I'll film it for you. We were about to lose a wheel. We were like this close to tragedy. Turns out the wheel bearings, and I'll pull them out, where are they? Here they are. The wheel bearings were coming out of the wheel hub, and please excuse me for not using the correct terminology. I don't know what the correct terminology is for that, but the anyway, the wheel, I don't know if you can see that. I'll hold it up a little closer, and I'll film it with the GoPro too for you. But they were out. They were coming out of the wheel. And that's what the squeaky noise that I was hearing was. They were just coming out, and they were so worn that they were no longer rolling inside this little hub here. They were dragging through there, and there were some missing. So when Stanley felt like the bike was missing, what was happening was it was pulling, because the wheel wasn't turning right, because the bearings weren't rolling. So yeah, we could have died. I'm not going to say who our Harley Davidson, the last person was to do a diagnostic on the bike, or to actually do some work on that wheel, because we not too long ago put a new tire on, and they should have noticed it. I will say we live in New Mexico, so that kind of narrows it down. And one shop we go to is great. The other one, we won't be going there again. Anyway, yeah, they should have caught this. Max, I think it was, at Timpanogos Harley Davidson, he gave us the parts, and he said, you know what, you take these parts back to whoever looked at that bike last and ask them, why didn't you catch this? Because this should have been caught and we could have died. So anyway, they got us in. They have a nice restaurant there. They got us in, got it fixed. It needed a new wheel, but you have to order the wheel. We would have been there at least a couple days because they're closed on Sunday. Maybe the wheel would have got there Monday, and maybe maybe not, maybe it would have been Tuesday, so we would have had to get a hotel. But they were able to fix this, and then we drove another 796 miles back to New Mexico through mountain roads. We went on the $1 million highway in Colorado with the ledge like just a few feet from our bike. And that thing held up, and it held out awesome. They did an excellent job. Oh gosh, I think it was Dan Hansen. I'm gonna have to double check. In fact, I'm gonna go do that right now. All right, I'm back. It's Ben Hansen. Ben, you rock. And Stanley would be here to be in this video today, but he's at work. And I wanted to get it out there. So, but Ben, awesome, we made it home, okay. And Stanley even had to take the bike to Albuquerque and back. So in addition to those 796 miles, you can add another 70 to that. And the thing is holding up great. We're gonna get a new wheel on it. Oh my gosh, I cannot thank you guys enough. So thanks. And everyone, have Ben work on your bike. Timpanogos Harley Davidson is awesome. Appreciate what you did. I'll show you a little closer what actually happened to the bike. Okay, so I don't know if you can see here or not, but this part right here was completely gone. It was coming out. They had to weld the bearings back together to get them out completely because it had spread apart, and it was that bad. And that's what we lost, that whole part. Let's see if I can come around this side, maybe get a better view. But this whole part right here was completely gone. We are so lucky. We had, 2 grown adults, and not thin adults either, not to be disparaging of ourselves, but neither one of us are thin people, and our packs and everything on here, and oh my gosh, it could have been tragic. So let me show you the bearings that they took out. Let's see, I hope you can see them. I'm going to put them out on the seat here. Let's see. There. So this is it. This is, here's where they had to, right here is where they had to weld it to get it out. That's, I don't know what that is, part of it. And look at that. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. Yeah. Could have died. Alright, but we didn't. Thanks to Ben. Thank you, Ben!